At the Repat hospital in Daw Park, a crowd of hundreds rallied today, urging the government to scrap proposals to close it. Mr Snelling insists no final decision's been made, and he's promising to consider almost 2,000 public submissions on the transforming health changes before making final announcements in coming months.
The future of the Repat is now in the government's hands, but as far as this crowd is concerned, the signs aren't good.
Save our Repat!
Many have deeply personal connections to the Veterans Hospital.
So for it to close down, in my book, is just an absolute criminal shame.
Save the Repat now. Call an election.
With a former colleague and military veteran painted as the enemy, the opposition leader Stephen Marshall rallied the troops.
Save the Repat! Save the Repat!
Demanding the government extend its consultation period.
It was dropped on then like a bombshell, with the government creating a distraction every single day, because they don't want to hear from the people of South Australia. This is a dangerous plan from this government and it will cost lives.
They're really interested in finding constructive solutions to the challenges we face in health. The first thing that they would have done was put in a submission rather than running around like banshees.
Almost 2,000 public submissions adorn the minister's desk. He's promising to consider all of them, but with the state budget looming, won't delay his decision.
But it is important that we have certainty out there in the system. I don't want people to be left waiting.
If this government wants to create a better healthcare system, it first needs to develop a healthier relationship, a healthier form of consultation.
Several Repat staff attended today's rally, but some asked not to be identified, claiming they'd been gagged by hospital managers.
I don't know how much trouble I'm going to get in for talking to you, but got to stand up for what we believe in.
While the Repat's future hangs in the balance, the axe is already swinging at Health Department headquarters. 13 executives have been made redundant and hundreds of workers will be redeployed into hospitals. Nick Harmson, ABC News, Adelaide.
South Australians have run out of time to have a say on the biggest ever shake-up of the health system. 2,000 people have expressed their opinions in writing, but many more have taken to vocal protests right up until the very last moment. However, big changes at the top started even before the deadline passed. Alan Morrill reports.
There's a war underway over our health system. Veterans of military conflicts waging a campaign to save the Repat, joined by 400 supporters at a protest in the fading shadows of the hospital.
Save the Repat!
Even passing motorists were enlisted for the cause.
Teach your horn, save the Repat!
The hospital faces closure under radical health reforms.
This is a sacred site and we should not be desecrating our sacred site.
Patients say the same services elsewhere will be a poor alternative to the Repat.
For lack of better words, mixing civilian problems with veterans' problems is like mixing oil with water.
And it saved my family and it's been a complete lifesaver to me.
And while the rally was in progress, final submissions were still being lodged on the state government's controversial transforming health plan.
Most say there hasn't been enough time.
We don't have those details. It's very easy for the community to jump to conclusions that will invariably be the worst possible conclusion.
7 News with Jane Doyle and John Riddell.
Good evening. The doors now slammed shut on public consultation over the state government's radical health system shake-up. But in one final assault aimed at saving the doomed Repat hospital, hundreds of veterans and supporters voiced their anger.
There was plenty of rapid fire coming from near the Repat and no mistaking who was in their sights.
Save the Repat! Save the Repat! Save the Repat!
For almost a month, veterans have gone into battle repeatedly to save their beloved hospital. Today it was almost hand-to-hand combat with the government.
I think no matter what happens, you have to have a dedicated veterans facility.
It's an icon and it should be saved.
Its hospital services will be transferred to Flinders, the adjoining cancer hospice to Noarlunga, and the post-traumatic stress ward 17 to who knows where. Thousands have signed a petition, but they fear it's futile.
It almost seems like it's in a fait accompli. They don't want feedback.
And we need to design our health services around the needs of veterans into the future.
The opposition leader demanded a government backflip.
Well, I think the government has to listen. I mean, people power has got to prevail in this situation.
Health economist Leonie Siegel fears the overall plan ignores crunch issues such as adolescent mental health.
It really impacts on every aspect of the health system. So yes, it's very short-sighted not to be having a focus on this area.
Hundreds of passionate protesters have rallied at the Repatriation General Hospital in a last-ditch bid to convince the government to keep it open. Today was the last day of consultation, but veterans are warning this won't be the last time the Health Minister hears from them.
The final day to have their say, and hundreds made sure their voices were heard.
Save the Repat! Save the Repat! Save the Repat!
With placards and banners, more than 400 protesters pleaded with the government to keep the repatriation hospital open. Emotions boiling over, particularly among veterans for whom the hospital was built in World War II.
Absolutely disgraceful. They can't do it. That's sacred ground.
I'm just despondent at the moment as to where I'm going to get the treatment that I need.
Among the masses, Repat nurses, despite claims some staff had been warned against attending.
A lot of us are under the impression that we could get in a lot of trouble or even lose our jobs if we speak out.
Those who could talk delivering a clear message to the government.
Oh, really angry. Really angry.
I'm really angry and I will be changing my vote.
At the very least, they want more time to plead their case.
It is an absolutely ridiculous decision and the government just has to hold off on this and give the people a say.
The veterans community weren't consulted, the people of the South weren't consulted, the people of South Australia weren't consulted. It was dropped on them like a bombshell.
Consultation on the proposed health reforms closed today with almost 2,000 submissions lodged, none though from the opposition.
Put in a submission rather than running around like banshees trying to create hysteria.
While today may be the final day of consultation, these protesters say it won't be the last time they make their voices heard, with more rallies planned for next week and the weeks to come.
Keep these rallies going. Everybody, please come out. Civilians, military, everybody, country, city, come out and rally up against this.
Health changes already underway with 13 jobs axed and 400 relocated from the department's head office. Alice Montfries, 9 News.